So I'd like to acknowledge the traditional owners and custodians of the land we stand today, and I pay respects to elders past and present. And we've got to be careful because some people treat this as just this flippant thing that we say, but it's a really important thing because there was a group of people who have been here for many thousands of years, and then there was a group of immigrants and waves of immigration which has come here, which has built this country. And I see it as acknowledging the people who were first here, but I also see it as the community coming together. So it's not as some of the people who are not very nice to our Indigenous people use it to argue that all we're doing is putting people on a pedestal. Well, number one is I think these people should be on a pedestal, but secondly, it's about inclusiveness. That's what it's about, and we're in a bit of a sad world at the moment where that word inclusiveness is under attack. And inclusiveness doesn't just mean trans people, as the Americans seem to interpret. Their recent cutting up of inclusiveness has disadvantaged people who have disability. It's the disadvantaged veterans over there. A lot of their programs have been cut because they're inclusiveness programs. And what I kind of think of the world is if we can't get on with each other, well, it's not a very good world, no matter what we think. We're allowed to have difference of opinions, but your opinion should be civil. And I think this comes back right to this as well. And it's not putting one over the other, but people of Aboriginal descent have suffered terribly, and as a community we should respect it, the same as remember World War I, the Boer Wars, World War II and things like that. Okay, so very quickly what I'm going to talk about, and this is going to be very quick. I'm not going to go through this entire document. I want you to be aware that it exists. So this is the strategy document, and if I knew how to go backwards.
Arrows.
There we go. We have a business and strategy plan. So we don't just make up things as we go. Well, sometimes we do. But they're reactive things which need to be done at that time. We also have a plan which is going to finish off in July this year, and then we'll review it again. Okay, again, I don't want to talk about it because I'll have you all asleep in about 10 minutes, but what I want to do is just let you know it's there, let you know that we're working to a plan, and let you know if you want to access the plan, you're all welcome to access the plan. All right, it's not a secret, but it's not the most stimulating thing to read either, I've got to say. So that's really the introduction that I want to do, and there you go. Dawn, we need a better picture than me hugging you and cutting myself out. Yeah, this I'm going to talk about. This is the main way we actually work, and I'm going to talk about that in detail later on. And there's a whole range of things, as I say, which are very boring. I do want to touch on this. This is our structure. We're a board-based organisation. Okay, we only have a small board, and we deliberately have a small board because we're a small organisation. Because if we had 7 people on the board, it's more people than we employ. So we are a small organisation. We are a registered charity, and that's really important. It's fantastic for employees. So please, once you get started, get onto salary packaging. It means you'll pay virtually no tax, and your wage will increase by up to 15%. So there's things like that. So when people look at their wages, don't go, oh geez, they're down a bit, because you actually end up earning more money. And Karen's the one who talks about that. I think you pay virtually
$10 a week tax.
$10 a week in tax. So we're very lucky and privileged, but you do have to sign up for it. It's like anything, it's a bureaucracy, it does have to be signed up. So basically that's our base structure. You'll see up in the corner that there's a parent company called Health and Medical Services Proprietary Limited. It's a shelf company, and what it does is that was the original business when we were starting the charity, because you can't just suddenly start as a charity. And that sits there, and if ever there's grants that we've found, which is a bit weird, where it goes to proprietary limiteds, which under Scott Morrison's government, there was a lot of grants to proprietary limiteds, then we pull that off the shelf and we try and use it for money. So it's a very important little aspect. It actually just sits there, it doesn't really do anything. Now this is the big thing I wanted to talk about. This is our structure, and the key thing is that there's a board which goes on to the CEO, on the advisor. Eventually there'll be a CEO, a supervisor and clinical and quality lead, Shannon, paramedic Shannon. And then we have a CEO. Now remember, we use the CEO title because what we found in the past, if we use coordinator or something like that, we found a lot of people wouldn't talk to us. But when we said our CEO is contacting you and they want an appointment, there seemed to be, oh yes, your CEO, that's very important. So it's a title which is used for perception, but Rani does lead the organisation. We have what we call the Central Support Hub, which is these guys here, and if we grow, this design will actually be mimicked. All right, so that structure will just be duplicated. So if we do grow in time, and the main thing is our regional hub, where we've got Ash, who's community engagement and wellbeing, paramedic Ash. We've already talked about Shannon. We have our community organisers. Then we have the compulsory things that we have to put in. We can't afford to have a lot of those, so we duplicate things. Rani does a lot of finance and paying. We all kind of get stuck into human resources, but fortunately it's positive in most cases. Sometimes there's difficulties. Marketing grants and projects which Ash oversees, but we're also got it sitting out there separately. And then the important groups is actually going out and servicing the people. So we call the clients, the participants, the patients, we call them people. Because guess what? They're people. Okay? So one of the worst words I hear is in aged care, and they're called consumers. And I really hate that word, because what they're saying is they consume the services. And we just call them people and persons, because we're all people and we're all persons. And that's our frontline team, and we have an amazing team. We no longer have a GP because of insurance, otherwise we would have a GP, but we've had some insurance problems. And yes, so that's the main structure. I'm not going to talk much more about the strategic plan apart from those delivery components. So solvency means keeping in business, so making we've got enough money to pay people, making sure we've got enough money to pay our rent, things like that. If we don't have that, then it's illegal to trade or work, and they're our key components. And I'm going to give you a sheet which has all those on it. That's really all I want to say about the strategic plan, because the rest of it is quite in detail, as you can see. So we use PowerPoint as our document. Okay, so this isn't actually a PowerPoint well, it is a PowerPoint presentation, but it's also our document. Okay, and the reason we use PowerPoint is because we've got limited words, and hopefully what it can do is decrease the number of words we use. But this is reviewed every year, and yeah, you can see it goes on and on and on. So that's really all I want to say. I suppose the key things too, which I'll finish with, is that there's a number of key performance indicators. These are updated all the time, so you'll see there's only 2 there, but you can see that there were 2 others because they've been resolved. They've been completed, and they update and change all the time. So this is a fluent. So if I showed you this in 3 months' time, there may be completely different things on there. All right, that's all I wanted about. We're about the people, and the moment that we lose focus on the people out there, we're we're in trouble. We're in trouble. And it's very important because there's the people out there, but there's also the people in here. And our new person is very important because we've got a student. We've had lots of students come through who've learned nursing skills, paramedical skills, allied health skills. And then when they've finished their course, they've gone into a hospital situation, which they should. It's really important that they do graduate years or internships. We've had paramedics come and move into the ambulance service, and they go in there with a much greater understanding of the system. And when somebody old and that comes in and you're sitting in the nurse's station or the ambulance's attendant, they go, we're sick of these old people. They actually, hopefully our other staff will come through us and go, well, do you understand what's actually going in there? And if we actually had a proper system, you wouldn't be seeing these older people. Victoria, which is an offshoot of the Department of Health, she's the Chief Paramedic Officer who's very keen on developing a community paramedic model. So that was during COVID. That was just a terrible, terrible time. Just quickly, how do we sit? Nobody really knows where we come from. Our organisation birthed out of emergency management. So what emergency management is written there, and it's about reducing vulnerability of the community to incidents. But people always thinks of the end bits, which is usually the response bit, is that there's some type of disaster happen and people have to be out there quick and do things, okay? The reality is this is the most important bit of it, which is mitigation, which is stopping things from happening where possible. Now, as we all know, we can't stop everything from happening, okay? Things are going to happen, that's it. But if we've got a good plan, and Lisa was involved in a 72-hour plan when you're at the Riddles Creek Neighbourhood House, saying that if something hit, then really for 72 hours after a major disaster, communities are completely left by themselves, and there's something to put together. And again, so we're trying to focus in the mitigation component, okay? So we're trying to stop people who potentially can be looked after at home from going to hospital. We're trying to stop them from being in ambulances. We're trying to help people with disability, the carers, which is a very forgotten group. Caring is friggin' hard work. Okay, it's 24 hours a day, and I think the latest rise in their pension thing made it to $180 a week or something. We worked it out the other night. What was it, Dee?
$1.30 an hour.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it was 97 cents an hour.
Yeah, 97 cents an hour if you're a carer. So imagine that if I said, okay, you're a nurse, you're a carer, pay you 97 cents a day. And by the way, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no let up. So.
And they're the ones who do get paid. There are others who just don't.
And the way the carers pay is they pay with their mental health. They suffer. So that's where we fit. And that's what we were born out of. We're actually born out of the emergent, because the idea in the dream, if we ever got the money, is that rather than an ambulance call out, then we'd have a registered nurse and allied health available, plus paramedics who could go out and see people and get things right in their house. And that's our ultimate theme is the health prevention model, which is absolutely poorly and disgracefully funded by our government. What are we? We're a charity in the Macedon Ranges. We're unique because we're actually community paramedic run. Okay, so we're overseen by a registered nurse, but it's actually the paramedics who lead the design. And that's very unique. By the way, in Europe and England and Canada, it's not unique at all. So you might go to work in the ward, you might actually have a paramedic working alongside you in the ward. Okay, so it's Australia's very breaking things up to different groups. We're trying to break that down, that everybody works together. So it doesn't matter if I go out as a nurse practitioner and I go out with a paramedic, it doesn't matter. I go out with a nurse. where you'll find other groups say we won't employ a paramedic, we only want nurses. And that's just a ludicrous thing because we've all got terrific skills and it's all transferable. Okay, the key thing is no uniforms or ambulances, okay? And we really stick by that because we're people. A uniform gives a power base. So if I turn up in a uniform and I've got all my snazzy things on my shoulder and my big badge, what's this HMS community, paramedic across here, that's a real power thing, and you're not equal. You'll see that I've got soon to be paramedic practitioners in November. There'll be the laws passed and the first paramedic practitioners will be working. They'll be working similar to nurse practitioners. I'll be prescribing medication, ordering tests, etc. So that's been a major achievement. And the key thing is there's preventative health and a lot of backup we do. So when you go out in the field, you're not by yourself. If something goes wrong, there's a help channel and you'll telehealth with a paramedic, well, we don't have many registered nurses do telehealth, and then if there's something bigger, then they'll be escalated to a prescriber. So there'll be in our case, it's a nurse practitioner. And we manage to keep people at home. How are we funded? We're not. We make money out of NDIS and by aged care. The government won't have a bar of us, sadly.
Yes.
And all our services are professionally provided. So we don't use a volunteer support model, okay? We want people serviced by paid professional people. And I'm not knocking volunteers because there's absolutely I was a freaking volunteer half my life. But, still am, come to think of it. The thing is that we want our services to be provided at the highest possible level, and I'm not saying that, but what we do as smart is retired paramedics and nurses can come back as support partners. So we're using hundreds of years of experience, utilising people who may have retired after years of practice. Right. So this is a bit about our target. So this is from 2022, so this is actually quite out of date. We haven't had time to do another one. So we save in the Macedon Ranges area approximately 90 hours worth of call-outs per week. Most of those people, if we didn't save them, would be transported to hospital. Because the reality is the paramedic turns up and somebody says, I feel really sick, I've got abdominal pain. They don't know them. They're not sure of them. They probably don't need transport because they have abdominal pain every day of their life. And they end up ramped and hours in hospitals. And then they freak out with all the lights and stuff like that. That equates to stopping and avoiding hospital admissions and ED to about 5,000 hours a week. That then equates to around $1.4 million of savings per week. That's to the entire health system. And that's based on 2016 figures because that's where they've only released to at that stage. It might be a bit later. And that's because we're providing accessible home care, telehealth, a big supportive agent, where people can be managed in their home. But sometimes they can't be. Sometimes they get beyond it. But then what happens is they recognise they're beyond it. When they do go to hospital, they're in hospital shorter periods of time. And that's really important too, because you can't keep everyone out of hospital. People get sick, that's the way it is. And we're dealing with a vulnerable community, but most of our community don't want to engage in that services. Very quickly, that's what we do. Community health prevention programs, there's a whole range of things where we actually go out and we do blood pressure checks, we do stroke checks, we do a whole range of checks, ear checks, which we're the only group who do that. And what we do is, sadly, we find that about a third need referral. And in some cases, there's often one person is actually sent to either they're on that day or to hospital. And Ronnie did the big one, the guy was having the heart attack thing, remember? He ended up being airlifted or something up at Wangaratta. So, Yes, so it's pretty amazing. We're also working at this is a theoretical component, part of the business plan. We're looking at a model. There's a big gap if someone falls over at home, or if they're in industry and there's something minor and people don't know what to do, is they call an ambulance, or their alarm systems call an ambulance, and they've had a fall. The reality of Code 3, Code 4 is that it's going to be between around 3 to 5 hours, as long as 12 hours, for an ambulance to attend someone with a non-injured fall at the moment. What we're trying to do is fit in the middle that if an alarm goes off, we can actually send a registered nurse or a paramedic out. They can be assessed on the scene, help to get off the ground, reassured, and hopefully in the whole model as our support partners and our care companions can come and visit them the next day and make sure they're right. So that model's on the go now. It may not get up this year, may get up, we don't know. It's it comes down to people actually today.
Andrew, can I just ask a question about the community health one? Has there been referrals or coming back into the clinic or into the home care services from those events as well? That's good. Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
So I suppose it is a bit of marketing too, but we don't think of it as marketing and sales. Does that make sense?
No,
It's
but
a
then
job.
catching people in the relaxed phase.
Yeah, the big problem we have is my aged care, because we'll pick up people and they'll have something wrong with them, and it's like, are you on my aged care? No. Then it's 3 to 6 months, and what again, Dee and I were talking about the other night. You can get funding to go into residential aged care within 3 days. So if you go, I'm going to put you in a nursing home, then 3 to 5 days you can be in there funded through initially respite and then permanent. But if you want to keep someone at home, it can be up to 6 to 8 months before you fund it. And the maximum funding is $78,000 at the moment, and that's supposed to be able to provide 24-hour-a-day care, which is absolutely ridiculous. It doesn't. And it's putting people into residential aged care is very, very expensive. It's about 8 times the cost of keeping someone at home. So, and where does most people want to be? Now, don't get me wrong, some people need to go into residential aged care, and residential aged care isn't like it used to be in the old days, like a jail. In fact, some of the ones I've been into, I thought, geez, I wouldn't mind moving in myself. You know, they got activities going and food and, you know.
Food, you mean? Food.
Yeah. But then there's some of them I went to smell like wee holes. Anyway, let's move on. So, this was a presentation that I actually did the other day, and this was something, these are events what happened on that day. So, on that day, we had an 85-year-old woman with a care companion, dizzy, vomited, telehealth, resolved. Again, if it would have been with another organisation, it probably would have been an ambulance call. Patient's dizzy, you know, don't know what to do, they better go to hospital. 55-year-old, 53-year-old lives with discomfort, abdominal discomfort, community paramedic resolved that. They would have, now it's got a frequent flyer. She was a former frequent flyer. She used to call an ambulance up to 8 times a day. Okay. 74-year-old who was a former firefighter, lives with unknown disease, results in pus outbreaks, a really horrible disease. I'll be there and suddenly just pus will come out between his toes or something like that. Decreased mobility and falls, support partner, paramedic and nurse practitioner, and it was resolved. His issues were resolved. There was a total of 7 hours of ambulance calls, which were saved, which is around 52, I don't know what I was trying to write there. What I think I was trying to say was in that day it would have been tallied together, which is around 52 hospital avoidance and hospital admission. So people often, like these people, will be admitted to hospital and will remain in hospital between 3 to 5 days because nobody actually understands what's going on. and then they send them out with no issues resolved. And the other thing is they don't need there because these issues will never be resolved. Unfortunately, there's nothing that can fix them. Any quick questions? Okay, so this is what's called the guiding principles of the organisation. And basically what it's doing is it's giving us a formula how we work and how we behave, all right? And it's based on a, so that's what you've been given, and I was going to give them out here. I'm not going to go through each individual component of it. You've got your components in front of you and you've got your handout. But in theory, what we should be doing is when we're going to make a decision, we should actually have these laminated and we should be actually glancing at them and saying, this is the way, this is what we're trying to do. So again, I'm not going to go through everything because we'll be here for hours, but basically our model is what I talked about earlier in the long form. What I was looking at is our mission is trying to keep people safe. Our vision is to empower people, and we've talked about that and build it on their beliefs, choices and decisions. Our values are actually our behaviours and also how we should reflect, treat each other and treat other people. And one of the most important one out of this one is empowerment, and that's not just to our people out there, that's our people inside. We should be, and we'll talk about that, how it goes. So we should be loyal, we should be confident, we should help each other, but we should be able to work independently. But empowerment out of all those things is this one and this one, because if you don't communicate, then everything falls together. If you don't empower, everything else falls apart. All right? Because sometimes you may say something without malice, but what happens is we're misinterpreted. Okay, so they're the most things, and as I say, is overall what it's saying is be kind, be patient, listen, and help each other. Okay, we've talked about those. We're about to talk about these, our little animal friends. And we're just a reminder of our key aid, keeping you safe in your home and community, which it used to be keeping people safe in their home and community and out of ambulance and in the hospital. Too much. Okay. So very quickly, I've already said it, the mission applies to everyone. I'm not going to say, and the key thing is it's the way we work in our organisation. The values, again, I mentioned them before, you got them in front of you. I've given my opinion about these two, and that will bring everything else into place usually. And again, values are an interesting thing. I just want to make one comment about them. If you think about a river, okay, there's two things. People go, oh, values are beliefs. Well, beliefs and values are two different things. Okay, beliefs will change during your life. Okay, so when you're very little, you know, you might believe Mickey Mouse is coming, and then somebody's dressed up and Mickey Mouse came. But as you get older, you understand, and that's no longer a belief. Okay, so beliefs change. So if you think about a river coming down, beliefs are like the logs. They'll be there for a while, but eventually they'll get washed off. What values are, they're the big boulders, all right? They stay firm, they stay in the river, and if a flood comes and it smashes them, and we're being smashed, okay, they won't budge, and we shouldn't budge our values. Okay, our key aim, and I'm not going to say much, I've said that to death, okay, that's what we're trying to get to. All right. Again, our strategic plan I touched on earlier, so I'm not going to touch on that. Now we're going to go into, this is a management theory, it's called gung-ho, and gung-ho is actually a misinterpretation. Dee, you're very good at gung-chow is how it's actually was pronounced. And has anyone heard of this theory? It was a theory from the 1980s. And it actually fell over. When I went and did my management course, it was one of the theories that was brought to us. And the reason that it fell over was not because it was a good theory, it was because organisations couldn't change their thinking. And there was a couple who did, so there was 3M, and I can't remember a couple of others who actually have taken this on, and they still use it today. All right? Does anyone know what is? Has anyone heard of the term gung ho? What is if you're going to use that term and say gung ho? What does it mean? Like if I said to you, Dee's gung ho.
Charging ahead.
What's that?
Charging ahead.
Charging ahead
Just
with thought or
randomly
without
just,
thought?
No, without thought. Just
Yeah.
randomly going into something.
Yeah.
All guns blazing. All guns blazing.
That's right, and that's actually a really bad misinterpretation, gung ho, and so the word was taken out of context that you rush into things and you don't care if you're hurt or things like that. So that's the story behind it. Yeah. So it actually means teamwork, support, and working together, but it's the wrong word, the Englishisation of it. So, and that's what we want to do. So this book came out here, which is a management theory book, and the authors of it, the two authors, did something really different. Normally management books are shit boring, let's be quite honest with you. They have all this theory. What they decided to do is the way they would teach their theory is, so they picked it up from the military and said, geez, this will work in actual business. And they found a case study which was new, which was real, and that's where the animals come into gung ho. So in the Americas, they use the spirit of the squirrel, the way of the beaver, and the gift of the goose. What we've done is we've changed them to Australian animals, okay? And basically what they did was they wrote a story. So it's actually like a fiction novel, but it gives you instructions on how to do it. It's really different to what do it. So what they did was they did a case study on this car parts business, and there was all different factories. 2 factories were going down the tube, but there was one factory what was extremely efficient in making parts, and what was happening is so efficient they were overwhelming the other factories with the parts coming out. They couldn't keep up and they were beginning to fall. The 3 secrets of gung ho, which we're going to talk about. So we're going to use Australian animals because I thought squirrels and stuff when we first put this together. So we're going to deal with, we're going to look at what's called the spirit of the pygmy possum. Now I don't know if you know pygmy possums, they're only this big and they live up around Mount Kosciuszko, which I can't say properly. That's actually not the way to say it. It's got another way of saying it. But what the spirit of the possum is that it snows up there and they live in hollows. And so what they have to do is for winter, they've got to go and get all the berries and nuts and stuff like that, and they store it, much like the squirrel, okay? If they don't, they go hungry and they don't survive. And the other thing is if they don't do it properly, their reproduction ceases. So there's actually less pygmy possums in the next season. So the pygmy possums, what they do is they don't do the work because they want to. They probably would rather swing around the trees in the summer and have some fun. But they have to go and do the work. So they don't really do the first bit of work because they want to. What they're doing the work is because they have to. Because if they don't get it and they don't get all the stores, then they die. Or they don't reproduce. Okay? So the work of the gathering of the food, okay, it's not just for survival, it's actually worthwhile work. And that's what the spirit is. This is really, really worthwhile work. Because if they don't see it as worthwhile, then why do it? Then they die out. And that's again with the squirrel model. They go and collect nuts and do the same things and spend all spring and summer collecting nuts so they survive in the winter. So the spirit is about worthwhile work. It's not necessarily they want to do it, and probably none of us want to go to work at times, but is our is our work worthwhile? And if it's worthwhile, then some of the most mundane things we have to do, we'll see the benefits of them. Okay? So let's have a quick lesson from our little animals here. Okay? So what the squirrels are telling us is that our work, oh, I said squirrels up there, I should have pygmy possums. Yes, typho. Okay, is that the work we lead to is that we actually have a shared goal, because it's not one little possum out there collecting, they're all out there collecting, and that's our mission. Okay, they understand each other's plans and goals, which is our value, and they work together. Okay, the work they do is really, really important, and they understand how important it is. You know, our key aim, our strategic plan. And if we amalgamate the three, we've got the really good understanding it's worthwhile work. And that's what we're trying to do. That's for the first stage of our work, of coming to work, is that when we get up in the morning, we should be saying, what we're going to do, oh my gosh, this one's going to be a bit hard, I've got to talk to 3 difficult people. But at the end of the day, we've actually succeeded and it's been worthwhile talking to them. Or we have a new plan, or you know, we're doing something, or poor old Rani's doing the wages, but at the end of the wages, the reward is that everyone gets paid. Okay? It's very, very worthwhile work. Okay? If you want copies of these, you're welcome to them. Sorry, Lisa.
That's all right.
Okay. So, in terms of us, worthwhile work means doing the right work. Okay? Our work is needed by people out there in the community. Our work makes the world a better place for a lot of people. That's really worthwhile, and it's the right work. We're doing the right work. Everyone works towards a shared goal. Our values guide our plans and decisions, and our work is important and worthwhile. Okay, so at the end of it, it's worthwhile work, and we do the right work. Has anyone got a comment on that? Okay, the Tassie Devil is my favourite. Okay, so the way of the Tassie Devil. Okay, so Tassie Devils are interesting little creatures. I love them. Okay, so they have a clear direction and training. You might be thinking, what's happening? Well, a lot of that's genetic. Even baby Tassie Devils have a role to play. Okay, so when they're going out to do things, the whole family, the whole group's got things to do. Tassie Devils know their work is worthwhile, because you know what their work is normally? They go out either as individuals and they're scavenging, or they go out as teams. Okay, this is particularly when they're the family. Often they will break out into individuals as well and do individual stuff. But the thing is, they have a desire to achieve a goal. And the other thing is they have control over their work. So when they're out actually doing their scavenging and looking, they control it. They don't have a supervisor there saying, go look in that bush, go look under there, oh, there's a dead wallaby on the road, watch out for cars. I wish they did say that. It's more like I wish the car driver would look out for them. So they have control over their work, and they know that their work, and they decide how their work's done, and they can work independently or in their terms. Now, what is their work? Well, they're actually finding food. That's their work. So when they have a snooze, they get up, and they spend their day wandering, foraging through the forest, and it's to find food. And when they find food, they can't help themselves, because they go ee and make funny noises, and everybody else come and they have it look like they're fighting, but they're actually sharing their foods. Okay? And a lot of their screaming and stuff is actually encouraging other ones, but we'll talk about the goose later. Okay, so their one is about taking worthwhile work and then achieving the goal. That's their work. So they all have a collective goal and vision. We've talked about ours, missions and visions in the human terms. They have their adequate training. They train each other when they're little. Their mother trains them, and they have their genes what have them. The key thing is that they have autonomy. That's really, really important. We've all got a friggin' brain, and we don't need people there saying, "Get the phone, Lisa. Lisa, you know, write that note for
Excluding this
me."
week.
You know, or Dee or anyone else. So they've got a brain and they got in autonomy. Now the leaders or the parents, in their case, the mother, they only intervene when there's obstacles. So they don't know what they're doing, so they teach them. Or the work can be derailed, or there's trouble brewing. Now what that means is that the leader should intervene if two people are about to have a blue or they're falling apart, we need to intervene. Okay, and that's where a leader may have to intervene. Okay, because sometimes, like it or not, we still have a rank structure. But the thing is they contribute to work in their own way. All right, so I might do my nurse practitioner prescribing quite different to Letty does it. Or my paramedic, when I've got my paramedic hat on, assessment might be different to my colleague who's a registered nurse. Okay, but in the end, we're going to come up with the same thing probably, and even better, hopefully we'll work together to come up with a solution. So, what's the clear focus? The Tassie Devil, they do work the right way. They're autonomous, they get help. Leaders don't intervene unless necessary. It doesn't mean we don't talk to leaders. If you don't know something, you still talk. But you know, the encouragement is to work. Okay, work as autonomously and get as much reward from what you can, and work as teams as well. So, what the Tassie Devil does is they move as one, they pull together, they feel satisfied when they achieve their goals, and hopefully we all do that. Okay, we meet a work-family balance. They go out, get their food, have a big snack, go home. Go to Snoozy Land in their burrow. Okay, we've got to have our work-family balance too. Okay, we meet the needs of our people out in the field. Most important, because none of us should be here if we're thinking about our egotism and we're not meeting what our people need, then we're not doing a good job. Okay, leaders only intervene when support or direction is needed, and that's the booster rather than thump. Okay, we all head in the same direction, and the key thing is work is meaningful. Okay, it's a real meaningful work. So, I love the Cape Barren geese. Okay, so I don't know if you've ever seen films of geese, but the Cape Barren geese, they're on the southeast coast of Australia. They're in some parts of Western Australia and Eastern Victoria. They're quite dispersed, but generally they leave the mainland and they have a little island somewhere where they breed. Okay, so they usually don't breed on the mainland. They get there, flip over to the island, and then they mate and breed on the island, and it keeps their chicks safe. Okay, so they usually fly in a V formation. Does everyone know why they fly in a V formation? Okay, it's like runners. Have you seen bikes and stuff? They run in a straight line when they're riding their bikes. Does anyone know why they do that? So, yes, that's right. So the ones at the front of the V, they're taking all the wind. Okay, and then as you further get back, it's less effort because the front ones are taking all the wind. And what happens is there's a leader at the front, okay, does the hard work, so the other ones can fly easily, but they all share the position. They all move around because otherwise the poor one at the front, you know, buggered and drop out of the sky. So we should all be sharing the position so it's easy. The other thing is they honk all the time. They're extraordinarily noisy. Honk, all the time, and that's all geeses. And what they're doing is they're actually cheering each other on. They're going, "Good on you, mate. You look a bit tired today. Keep it going. Keep it going. Look, come down into my position. I'll move up the front. Keep going. You're going." They're always honking and encouraging each other. So they keep going. And if they're tired and struggling and one has to leave, 6 of the geese will fall off with them,
No.
and they'll wait till the other one's who's tired catches their breath or whatever, and then they fly up in the V formation again. Okay, so I'm not quite sure how big. I think there's 30 or something like that in the V, but 6 will always come out and they'll then take off, and they'll be honking while the one's knackered and couldn't keep going. They'll be around going honk, honk, honk. You get your breath. We'll keep going. So that's why I love the geese. People don't know, and then they take off, and the goose who's tired will be at the back. They'll be down in the back, so they're doing the least work, and then they'll say, "Come on, mate, come up a bit more," and honk, honk. You're doing all right. We're only a couple of kilometres off now.
I like that one too, because the tired goose accepts that, they need to take a break, and
Yeah.
that's just what they do.
Yeah, so it's not like a
Just
lot of
very
animals who just say, "Oh, well, they've flipped down, bad
Or
luck, see
keep
you
on
later."
going, keep on going, and not
Yeah.
actually accept that they need a break, and
Mm.
others to take that up.
Exactly. So I love the geese. They're pretty amazing
Very
things.
wise.
Okay.
They should be ours.
So the quick summary of it is the geese are about outcome and congratulations. Their target's getting to the island, their target's reproducing, getting that done, but on the way, they're going to be cheering each other on. They're going to let each other know, how great each other are. They're loud, or they can be silent. Sometimes they're very quiet. So if they're on the ground, they may not honk. They just might sit down with each other while the other person's. But the clear thing is all the geese do the cheering, not the leaders. So we're used to, we want the boss to come and say, "Oh, you're doing a great job." No, your workmates is powerful. But the key thing is it can't be bullshit, pardon my language. It's no good if you come along and someone's doing a shit job and you go, "Well, you're doing a good job, mate." And then you walk off and go, "Oh, they're friggin' hopeless." If you're going to congratulate something, it must be true and it must be mint. All right? It doesn't take away that we're all fuzzy, and if somebody isn't doing a good job, that somebody isn't told, "Hey, you're not doing a good job." But the idea is, "Hey, you're not doing the job, how can we support you?" So that's the 6 geese coming down. Okay, let's support each other. Okay, let's try and help them. All right? Because it's not true and honour if somebody's not doing a good job and the whole system's falling apart, and where they're going, "Oh, you're doing great." No, that's not what the geese do. Okay, and that's what we shouldn't do. It's got to be true. So you can see it's timely, a response unconditional, and it's enthusiastic. Okay, a goose who's lost must rejoin the team. So if you lose it, okay, so it's true. Yeah, that's T. Do you think I'm clever? Yeah, so if they're lost, they've got to rejoin, we get them to rejoin the team. So if somebody's having something which is happening at home, it's not our business what's happening at home unless somebody chooses. But we may have an inkling, they may not be doing as well. Let's support them, okay? So, I've already kind of said that. We want to encourage each other, we want to support each other, and it's always not from the leaders. So we work for the right reward and we get outcomes achieved. And there's a little saying here, and I'd just like you guys to read it, because when you begin to put the 3 together, this is what we're trying to do. So as you'll find, you'll go out and see someone, okay? You do something. Well, if it's a good thing, we really need to tell you it's a good thing, okay? Because the problem with our society is we're happy to tell someone if it's a bad thing or they've made a mistake. But we're often not very happy to tell people that they're actually doing good stuff. And that's how we get the most out of people. If people feel happy and feel like they're doing good stuff, then we're doing good stuff. We can't overdo it, but that's the key thing. So using the old Australian term, no bullshit. Okay, it's got to be sincere and true.
Love it.
Okay. So that's why we want to be a gung-ho organisation, a teamwork organisation. Okay. The gift we give each other. Is it the right thing to do? That's the possums, absolutely. Okay. The next one, when the right work is being done, we're getting it done. And the last thing is right work, right way, right reward, right outcome. And that's the geese. So that's really the lessons that I want you to take away. We need the three of them. Active and passive congratulations must be true. People who do the right things get the right reward. So if we put them all together and we all do it right, when we walk out, hopefully we're feeling good. So what have we learned? Just another quick summary, okay? That's the key. The spirit of the pygmy possum, work is meaningful. It's not always fun, but it's meaningful, okay? Do the right work, get it done, okay? Don't starve in winter. Okay, the way of the Tassie Devil, clear focus, control of achieving and go, do work the right way, make the goal, okay? There's a slight subtle difference between the first two. The gift of the Baron, support each other, enthusiasm, reward. Do work for the right reward and outcome, and that includes getting paid. So for people getting paid, that's a very important part because you've got to go home and buy your meals and things like that for your kids. Just quickly, I won't spend that. If you ever get to do briefing documents, this is what our briefing documents look like. If you have a look at them, they have all the animals, and the first question it asks you is if you're putting in for something, is it worthwhile? And then it breaks it up into a whole section as how is it worthwhile, how will it benefit? I'm sorry that hasn't come up very good. But basically what it says is you run through the project, and if it works, well done, well done, well done. Yeah. If it doesn't work, it's evaluation and rejection, and good on you for having a go. Okay? Redirect, good on you. If it's not going to work, well, it doesn't work. Okay? But you've had a crack at it.
And you haven't wasted any more resources.
No.
Or
And what we
wasted-
find is when people use the template, they often get down to the Tassie Devil, they don't get to the goose, and they realise that, this isn't going to work. And sometimes we've done things and you've really thought about it and gone, actually, this is not worthwhile. This isn't going to benefit people. And then you get other times, like my last one, and I was so enthused by the end of it because everything ticked out and it is going to work. All right. Just quickly, I just want to remind people of the job of the leader, and we'll have a quick break. Okay, the leader, we still have leaders. We still have a bureaucracy, we still have a leadership. But their job is not to have a crack at you. And that's the problem with many failings in organisations, is the leader is the whip. Okay? Yes, sometimes you might need no one deserves a whip, but an encouragement. But it's making sure people are reminded what they're doing is worthwhile. They've got to decide where they're going. Okay, teams must share goals. Now, this is a really important one. We all have personalities, and this is a really important thing of a leader. Okay, hold the rule makers in check. Now, what that means is that there's people in teams who are quite dominant, and they make up rules and they make up directions. People go, I'm not quite sure if that's the right way, but I'm not going to say anything, So the leader is to actually say, well, there's someone dominating here. We need to bring them back so we're all part of the team. Doesn't mean that what they're saying is invaluable, but it may be the way they're doing it. They may be a dominant personality. They may talk over people, line them back into the team. That's good leadership. All right, not letting him go and say, there's, make up a name, Joan, and she's bossing everyone around, but they're getting their work done, and the other two hate what they're doing, don't find anything worthwhile, and it's really Joan's having a great time. Well, that's not how we work. Okay? ensure you've got support inside and outside of the organisation. Keep your eye on the future to ward off trouble. So what would the future be? Ward off trouble. The good thing is we should be looking forward, but then we might be able to say, well, the economy's about to crash. How do we as everyone do it? And if Rani, I, or any of our other staff, we mightn't see it coming, and somebody might have seen a news thing, freaking tell us, you know? And then we can say, oh my goodness, like last year, the economy was terrible. We were very worried. And Rani ended up doing amazing work and, you know, done analytical stuff and got the accountants going, and, you know, we didn't know if we were going to be here. We didn't know if we were going to be employing people, you know, but it was about the future. Okay, and be ready to change direction. That one's really important, because this thing that I've got my heart on at the moment of getting a response, it might be a failure. Okay, it mightn't be ready. So I've just got to say, well, we need to modify it. We can't do that. Or it's got to wait. Or, my gosh, we've had 40 people who want to sign up now. Maybe we better get organised and change direction. We'll meet their needs. Okay, so I'd like you all to read that, but I'll read it out too. One of the fastest and surest way to feel good about yourself, what you do and what you achieve, is to understand how your work fits into the big picture. When you feel good about yourself and the place you work, well, that's the beginning of gung-ho. And that's what we want to do. We want to be different. Okay, let's have a little, this is just a little bit of a review. I don't need to talk that, I'll talk that to death.
Can I just say that it's really interesting watching this and I think I don't want to speak for Emma, but from the moment that we've been involved in the whole, you know, being recruited and that kind of thing, that this has come out, now you're doing it, saying this, then you are the living case study of what my experience has been and is of gung-ho. So yeah, it shows, and often you can get these kinds of briefings, and then but you don't see it in the organisation, and but yeah, we've seen it, you know, right from the beginning. So
thank you.
Yeah.
So well done to everyone. That's amazing. Well, it was a little bit of a joke one originally, but it's become our serious. Does anyone know what the most common word used in Australian workplaces are?
Crystal.
Oh, I did the type. Sorry, I did the type. There's anger and disappointment are common. Most workplaces don't have clear goals. Communication between staff is usually poor, and there are consistent system failures and errors. So admittedly that's 2008, but yeah, hopefully that's improved a bit. So that's a bit better, I got that one right. I have to fix that one. So pissed off, angry, sad, upset, annoyed, had it, what's the point? That's completely opposite to what we just looked at, didn't we? So Jane works hard, always finishes late. She's angry, really angry. She finishes late. Goes to bed and usually has interrupted sleep. That makes her really angry. Angry Jane. Woke up early, went back to sleep and overslept. She's angry. In a rush, started work, turn on computer, 30 emails, angry. Small staff crisis, my God, angry. Okay, new priority come out, angry. Feels under the pump and lost temper, angry. Refuses to take a break, too busy, no time, angry. 5 p.m. comes, refuses to finish, angry. Nobody ever gets things done right or listens to her, angry. At home, dinner not ready, angry. Walks into the kitchen, daughter sees her and drops a cup, angry. That's what our workplaces can do. What makes Jane angry?
Everything. Frustration.
Yeah. Okay, so what makes her angry? Whose fault is it that Jane's angry?
Jane's fault.
No? Who does, let's just say who does. Who does James blame for being angry?
Sounds like
Everyone.
else. Yeah.
Everyone. What do you think her communications would be like with fellow workers?
Probably
and
angry.
angry.
Short and
I'm
sharp.
sure you've all seen someone, a Jane,
Mm-hmm.
you know. What would be Jane's response to emails?
Angry.
Angry. You know, what do you want? Oh God, are they stupid? Why are they sending me this
And
email?
overreacting and kind of very
Yeah.
Aggressive.
reactive. Yeah.
What would her colleagues think of Jane?
But she's
Scary.
angry.
She's angry and keep away from her.
Yeah, and unpredictable.
Unless they all feel the same way.
Yeah.
How do you reckon Jane's feel about her work and the people she works with?
Not good.
Angry.
No. Well, she said it. They're probably all dicks in her mind, you know. Okay. How does Jane respond to working late all the time? She's angry, but what's her choice? She does it. What might happen when James walks into her home? She walks home. There's a partner. In this case, we know she's got a daughter. How do you reckon she's going to react? Angry! What might Jane say to her daughter? Her daughter's just dropped that cup, and her daughter looks up at her and she's angry. She's going to say things that she'll probably regret. Well, hopefully regret. Hopefully she's not going to say them, but they do. How might this story end?
Burnout.
Burnout, mental health, family breakdown, sacked from work. We don't want to end Jane's. And if we see Jane's, we need to come together and help Jane's where we can. Now, sometimes you can't help Jane's. Okay, let's realise that. Sometimes people do have to move on. Okay, but if we can, we've got to give it a crack. So, Jane's very committed and a hard worker. Do we agree with that? She comes in early, she doesn't have lunch, she works overtime, you know. Okay, so as a gung-ho theory, okay, we should all have one goal, shouldn't we? Okay, there's our gung-ho, our teamwork, our mission, our values, our key aim. Where do you reckon Jane is on that field? Okay, so the team should be all kicking one way. Where do you reckon Jane is?
Running the other way.
Down the end?
Behind the red line.
Yeah. Oh, Jane. Okay. Jane's right off the field. She's not even playing the game. Okay? Jane sees work as meaningless. She can't see the goals. She's got fake rewards. Her fake rewards are yelling at people, probably. Goalposts keep moving. Have we heard that saying from people? They walk in, you keep moving the goalposts. But it's documented. The goalposts aren't moved. Well, Jane's moved. Not part of the team. Only one who can do the job right. Angry. Don't have a clear goal. Okay. Apply the gung-ho principles and what are the outcomes? So what I was trying to get you to have a think of, does she feel that it's worthwhile work? Can she achieve? And is there congratulations and reward? Can she see that or feel that? Okay. How do we bring Jane back into the field? Now this is the main question I want to ask you. About our values, what's the two I said are probably the most important?
She's doing a good job.
Yeah, communications. So do we reward her like the goose? So you're doing a good job, clock, keep going? Is that an honest reward? Or what do we do? How do we apply the principle? Okay, we want to bring you back on the team, but then there's the honesty. Okay, and the questions are simple to you. Do you find work worthwhile? Okay, are you achieving the goals? Do you feel rewarded? And that's how we bring it back. Now, if over time, and let's be honest, if over time we can't get there, then Jane's no good for the organisation. And worse than that, she's no good for us. But we don't want to be there. So we need to support her with these. And if ultimately she comes back, good. If ultimately she doesn't matter. Okay? Because some people do need to move on, their time's up.